Dr. Henry, a reputed surgeon known for his precision but infamous for his arrogance, strode into the hospital's ER with an air of superiority. Nurse Bella, a diligent and compassionate professional, was tending to a frail elderly man on a stretcher. Without warning, Dr. Henry reprimanded her harshly for what he perceived as an improper bandaging technique in front of the patient and the other staff. His words stung. "This is basic nursing, Bella. Do you need me to teach you how to do your job?" Bella's cheeks flushed, but she said nothing, swallowing her pride as the patient observed the exchange in silence, his eyes narrowing slightly. The elderly patient, Mr. Edward Marshall, was no ordinary man. Unknown to Dr. Henry, Edward was a billionaire philanthropist who funded numerous medical programs and had a keen eye for character. His silent demeanor hid the fact that he was assessing everything, including the blatant mistreatment of Bella. Though weak, Edward made a mental note of the situation. After his procedure, Edward was moved to a private room. While Bella's professionalism shone through as she cared for him, her demeanor was tinged with sadness. Edward, touched by her kindness despite the earlier humiliation, decided he would uncover the root of the toxic culture he had just witnessed. As days passed, Edward observed the hospital dynamics. Dr. Henry's condescension wasn't reserved solely for Bella. Other nurses, particularly those of minority backgrounds, bore the brunt of his arrogance. Edward realized this was not an isolated incident but a systemic issue that needed addressing. Despite the insults, Bella's dedication to her patients never wavered. She worked long hours, often staying late to ensure their comfort. Edward noticed her resilience and was deeply moved. He decided it was time to act, but knew he had to be strategic. Edward reached out to his legal team and hospital administrators anonymously. He began collecting evidence of misconduct and poor workplace culture, focusing on how it affected patient care. Meanwhile, he encouraged Bella subtly during their conversations, reminding her of her worth. Dr. Henry began to notice that Bella was less responsive to his verbal jabs. Her quiet strength and Edward's encouragement had given her a renewed sense of purpose. This irked Dr. Henry, who doubled down on his criticisms, unaware that he was being monitored. Edward enlisted the help of Dr. Lisa Carter, a junior doctor who had also suffered under Dr. Henry's tyrannical behavior. Together, they documented incidents and built a case that couldn't be ignored. One afternoon, during a staff meeting, Edward, now visibly recovered, walked into the room unannounced. He introduced himself, revealing his identity as the major donor behind the hospital's funding. The room fell silent as Edward described his observations during his stay. Edward's words struck a nerve. He called out Dr. Henry's behavior, not with anger, but with disappointment. "Leadership isn't about undermining others," he said. "It's about uplifting them." His speech ended with a powerful question. "What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?" The hospital board launched an internal investigation into Dr. Henry's conduct. Bella and others were interviewed, and their testimonies painted a clear picture of a toxic work environment. Bella received an outpouring of encouragement from colleagues who admired her strength. Edward's intervention became a catalyst for change, and Bella's confidence grew exponentially. Faced with undeniable evidence, Dr. Henry was given an ultimatum: attend counseling and leadership training or step down. His pride made the decision difficult, but the mounting pressure left him no choice. The hospital began implementing new policies focusing on workplace culture and inclusion. Training sessions were held to address unconscious bias and communication skills. Bella was offered a leadership role, recognizing her resilience and dedication. She hesitated but accepted, knowing she could inspire others and drive positive change. Henry reluctantly attended the training sessions. Initially resistant, he gradually began to understand the impact of his actions. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but it was a start. The hospital's atmosphere improved as staff felt more valued and respected. Bella's leadership brought a sense of camaraderie and professionalism that had been lacking. Before leaving, Edward met with Bella privately. "You're stronger than you realize," he said, "and this hospital is lucky to have you." His words cemented her resolve to make a lasting impact. Bella's story inspired other nurses to speak up about workplace issues, creating a ripple effect of empowerment. In a rare moment of humility, Dr. Henry apologized to Bella. It wasn't perfect, but it was genuine. Bella, in turn, forgave him, choosing to focus on the future. The hospital became a model for inclusivity and respect, attracting talented professionals who thrived in the positive environment. Bella's leadership extended beyond the hospital as she advocated for systemic changes in healthcare workplaces nationwide. Years later, Dr. Henry became an advocate for respectful leadership, using his story as a cautionary tale. Realized, Edward continued to support initiatives that fostered equity and kindness, finding fulfillment in the transformations he had witnessed. Bella published a memoir detailing her journey, inspiring countless others to stand up against injustice. During a hospital gala, Bella and Edward shared a heartfelt moment, reflecting on how far they had come. Bella mentored young nurses, instilling in them the values of compassion, resilience, and self-worth. Edward passed away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of kindness and transformation. His impact on Bella and the hospital was immeasurable. Bella faced her final professional challenge with the same grace and determination that defined her career, cementing her reputation as a true leader. The story closes with Bella addressing a graduating class of nurses. "Never let anyone diminish your light," she said. "Kindness and respect are not weaknesses, they are strengths. Together we can create a world where everyone is valued."